Hi, this is a short video going through how you can optimize characters that you get in through the engine. When you get in a character, at the moment I'm giving this example using the Paragon asset Steel. He's a great looking asset. Unfortunately, it's pretty hard to automatically use them in another engine or bring them out for a couple of reasons. First one is got this big shield here, which I'm not going to go over how to remove, but I'll mention it at the end. And because the materials are quite complicated and quite expensive, so this will give you a problem if you want to take it out or re-import it or go anywhere else with it. So just to demonstrate, if I go into Lit and under Optimization View Mode, and I jump down to shader complexity, so you can see here the original guy is quite expensive. On our red is expensive, green is cheap, and our new guy is quite cheap. And if we start looking at the styles, you can see that they're relatively close. It's slightly different color. I think that's the way I set up some of the materials, but in general it's not bad at all. Okay, so rather indistinguishable. Now this is if you import it with all of the extra textures and meshes all at like 4K. This comes up to install at around 2.3 gig. This comes in at about 100 meg, so it's quite a large difference. So and I'm going to show you where the big difference is in this. So if I was to grab this guy, and I'm going to open up one of the materials we have here. So this material, as you can see, is relatively complicated. It's calling a number of different material functions, and it's got some optimization, a lot of different options of how you can edit them, which is great. And so if you want to tailor stuff, there's loads of stuff in there. However, what I'm going to be looking at is how we can bake these down into smaller textures. So for example, if I was to go into the equivalent on this guy here, so I think it's the upper body, you'll see that the material looks like this. So it's just 3 textures with the metallic specular roughness and ambient occlusion baked into a single material, and I'm then just breaking off each of the channels, and I've got the normals and I've got the texture here. So I'm going to briefly talk about how I've created this. Now what I've done, and I'm going to just do one of these materials from scratch, so I will create a new folder and I will call this now I have created a simple script. I'll drag that off to the side, and I'm going to create a actor class, and I'm going to call this texture baker. So that is just a standard actor class. And then I'm going to open this up. Now in this, I just want to add in one custom function. So I'm going to go to the events graph. I'm going to right hand click, and I'm going to do add custom event, and I'm going to call this bake texture. Now on this, I'm going to tick the button call in editor, and the reason I'm ticking this is because it will mean that the button appears in the details panel. So if I do that, and I'll grab in a print string so that we know that it's baking. Compile. out of the way. So we can now see if I create an instance of it in the level, we have a option here for bake texture. And you'll see as I click on bake texture, it says baking. Now the next thing that I'm going to want is a render target. So I will select a render target. And what a render target is it is a texture which we can draw, we can write to. So it's often used for mini maps or sort of in making landscapes look better, but theoretically it's just a texture which we can write to. So I'm going to call this RT for render target, and I go baked material. Baked material. Now I'm going to open this up because by default it is 256 by 256, and that's too small. So I'm just going to go times by 10. It says that's too large, and no, I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna make this 2K. And what's nice is this is a relatively reasonable image texture size for memory. You could go lower, but I think that's good. It's easier to scale down after you've done something. So this is a fine size. Okay, so we have our bake texture, and now we only really want to do one thing, and that is draw material to render target. So at that point I am just going to right hand click on each of these in order to create a variable. And what's nice about the variables is with them selected I can tick instance editable, which will mean that they're viewable within the as inputs within the details panel again. So that just tells me it's going. This just allows me to draw to a render target. So what this is going to do, this function, is it's going to take whatever this material is, and the output of it is going to post into this render target. Okay, so if we now jump in and see a selection, if we can see that we have two inputs here, and I want my render target to be there, so the RM bake material, and next up is the material, the input material to grab this from. So if I was working with this guy, let's grab the upper body cobalt. So I've done that before, so I know hasn't got any problems with it. So I've selected this in the browser, and I'm going to click the left hand button here to fill it in. So hey presto, we've filled that in. Now I will go back to my folder. Oops. Control B. I've used Control B because it will just jump me to this asset I have selected. Now if I push, now this won't work until I played around with this material, so I forgot to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplication of the material. You can't use the material instance, it has to be the material. So once I've got that one, I will drag it into my video example. So move here. Okay, so we've got the body cobalt, and I'm gonna grab that and place that as our input. Now I'll open this up. Now this looks like this. Now if we want to bake this out, we can only bake out one channel, and the material needs to be of a specific type. So if I select the output pin here, what I want is I want the shading model to be unlit. Now that's going to make this completely black. You can see that this only has one pin that says material attributes. I don't want to do that, so under the use material attributes I'm going to untick that, and you'll see I get the whole options back again. Now, only the emissive colour matters in this instance. So I'm going to drag off of here and I'm going to type make material. Oh, it's a split, isn't it? So break material attribute. Break material attributes here. And now we're in a good place, because if I take the base colour and plug that into the emissive colour, we should see we have a rather low resolution here. That's interesting. So why is this so low resolution? That's weird. Should be better than that. Okay, well, let's try and run it through and see if that causes any problems. So I've got my, oh no, there you go, the resolution's increased. So we have our everything plugged in okay, and I'm going to go save and apply. Now this material is ready for baking. So I'll jump back in here, and all I need to do is push the bake texture. And then we need to wait, because this will update. There you go. That was quite quick. Sometimes it can take a long time. So if you're not seeing something back, there's going to be a couple of reasons why you might not see something back. But the first thing I would do is wait. Okay, but we have our texture. Now this is still a render target. So if you right hand click on the render target, there is an option to create static texture. And that's going to create a texture from that. I then just rename it to something like texture, I think we're upper body color, for example. Okay, so that's given us our first part of the texture. Now I want to render out the other sections. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the normal. Let's see if we can get a normal. That gives us a normal map. So all I'm doing now is going back into the material. Rather than plugging the base color into the emissive, I am plugging the normal into the emissive color. Okay, and apply and save. And again, I just need to go back and push bake texture and wait a little bit. Okay, and this one is done now, the normal maps. However, this took a very long time. I actually went away and had a cup of tea in time, so you really need to wait sometimes for this to work. So again, I'm going to right hand click and I'm going to go create static texture and rename this so it is T underscore upper body normals. Okay, so next up I'm going to change the material again. Now this time what I want to do is I want to channel pack the metallic, specular, roughness and AO, because they're all single channels, so they don't need a material unto themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag off the emissive color and I'm going to type in make float 4, and there you go, we have a float 4. Now for this I'm going to plug not the base color, the metallic, specular, roughness and the ambient occlusion into the 3 channels, and then I'm just going to apply again. It's going to give us this nice color. And again, I'm just repeating exactly the same thing. I'm just going to push the bake texture. And I'm going to wait. Okay, so this one is baked as well. This took quite a while again, so I'm not 100% sure. I just went and left it to do its thing. So I'll create a static texture and I'm going to rename this as T underscore upper body, and then I usually do material, metallic, roughness, specular, AO. Okay, so These are all of the textures that I need to make the material. So I'm going to right hand click here, create material, and that will, I'll rename this slightly, that will give us a material which is has it connected to the base color. If I open that up, I'm now going to drag in the other two. So I've got this here. Now these two materials are in, I will plug the normal into the normal, and I will plug the, so you can see that a bit, I'll plug the metallic, specular, roughness and ambient occlusion in, and that's looking pretty good. Okay, now I save and apply. Jump back into the level. So if I would take this guy and replace it with the material that I've just made, the upper body, now it doesn't really, you can't really tell that I've changed it. However, if I was to jump into the visualization mode, shader complexity, you can now see that the top half of him has gone green because it's considerably cheaper. So that is how to remake materials, but considerably cheaper. Also, they're easier to export. We're basically rendering, we're baking down each of the channels. I did a couple of other things here. I used the modeling tools in order to just delete the shield, and I turned on the plugin skeletal mesh editing tools, which allowed me to delete the bones for the arms as well, just to clean up the mesh even more. So yeah, hopefully find that useful. Yeah, just straightforward, but can save you a lot of speed. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.